Hi, this is part 2 on our mini-series on the Compaq Portable III. Now in the first episode we were looking at the history of the Compaq Portable, the specs and my unit in particular and how it's important to me and some of the repairs that I was looking at doing. When I left that episode off we went down a little bit of a rabbit hole trying to fix some random memory error that I was getting that came out of absolutely nowhere while I was doing some debugging. So today I'm going to dive into that memory error and see if we can sort it out. Come along for the ride. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to probe some of these memory chips. I'm just going to double check that the lines look good. I can't really get to half the pins on this one under here without taking this bracket board off, which I'd have to take the main board and everything out, so I might do that in a bit if nothing's conclusive, but let's see what we see. So let's power it up first of all and check good voltages, which is so we should have ground here. Yep. Okay, and then this pin is our VDD. Yep, 5 volts, 5 volts, 5 volts. I can't test that one, but I'm just going to trust. Oh, I might be able to sneak it in. No, I'm not going to risk it. Okay, so now let's check address lines. So we're looking at A0 would be here. Yeah, that looks like address data. Yep. Okay. And then these ones, they're all. That one's interesting, but it's something. Good. And then we've got that one. Yeah. That one and that one. Okay, so all the address lines look fine. And they should pretty much show the same thing because I'm assuming they'd be multiplexed. Yep. So because we're not seeing bad signals on one of them, we can assume that we're going to see good signals across all of them. So let's check the RAS and the CAS. Actually, let's check the data. So data in, data out are on pin 2. So that's DO1. Yeah, that looks good. We got DO2. Yep. And we got DO3 is this pin here. That looks good. DO4 on that pin there. Yep. Okay, so I'll do the same on the other one. Yep, looks the same. Looks the same. Oh, it doesn't. Yeah, it's just high. Straight up to 5 volts. Okay. To 4. Okay, what about here? Yep. 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 Huh. So data in, data out 3 on this TMS. This chip here is just pulled straight high. That might be a fault right there. Alright, let's check RAS and CAS as well. So RAS is pin 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like it is refreshing constantly. And CAS is pin 16 over here. It's not doing anything, but if we reboot, we see a burst of activity. I'm expecting that we'll see the same thing. RAS looks good there. And yep, CAS looks good there. CAS looks good there too. And so does RAS. Okay, what about right? That is pin 4 and it is active low. So it is currently held high. Burst of activity when we boot. Held high. Burst of activity when we boot. Whoa. And likewise. So, can't test that back chip, but just from what I'm seeing immediately, it looks like this chip may have a problem. This is, I don't know, U63 or U47, I can't tell which one it is. Regardless. It looked like that input line, because it is 4 bits, so we've got D1, D2, D3, D4. Third bit of this IC is faulty, so maybe let's take this board out and desolder that one. Pop in a replacement and see what we see. Okay, so an update to my progress. Unfortunately, the one that I extracted out, it's actually in the tester at the moment, tested fine. And then I went on to extract the other 3, and they all tested fine as well. But I have regardlessly replaced them all, and I've put in these new NEC units here. So they should be pretty much the same model. Next, I gave it a test anyway, and it still was showing the same memory error, which sucks, but we persevere. So next thing I looked at was the other memory that I could see on the board, which was over here. And I went to extract these, which are these MB8264, which are the same as these 4164 that I replaced here. Now, interestingly, I was able to extract this one, which was actually in this spot here, no problem. But as I was extracting the other one, it pretty much just exploded. So it actually broke apart internally. The plastic cracked. I wasn't putting any undue force on it or anything, so maybe it was already a little bit fractured, and this was, oops, I lost a bit of plastic on the board. And this could have been a hint to what was wrong. So yeah, there we go. But also, unfortunately, while I've been plugging and unplugging and unplugging and plugging and unplugging, one of the pins inside here has snapped off and is stuck inside the connector. So I need to repair that port now. So what I'm going to do that is I'm going to extract the last little pin here. So it's just that pin on the corner. And I should be able to also, if I grab my little tray of pin headers, just grab one of these out, just the pin, and I should be able to just pull, because you can just pull these out. Like so. So now I have just a pin. And then I'll just extract that one, and then pop this one in, solder it in place, match it up, and there's our replacement repaired header without having to replace the entire thing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and then put it back together, and hopefully with this replacement that works. The only thing unfortunate here is the one that's in there is 100 nanoseconds, and I only have 120 nanosecond replacements, so I might have to replace them both so that they both line up, and there's no problems. But I also may have to get some 10-10 or 100 nanosecond memory 4164s to replace it, but I guess we'll see. Anyway, more repairing, more work. Back soon. Showing my handiwork, the extracted pin, and so that's the part that was in the mainboard, and that's the part that was in the cable. And then we have the replacement here, just up in this corner. Different color, but serves the same purpose. And then the cable just goes back straight in. Nice. And then this should be all back together. I just need to pop the RAM back in. We slot in like so. Okay. Come on, baby. Nope. Memory error. Still. Well, damn. That sucks. So this number doesn't seem to change. It's always 0100000000201 memory error. If I turn it off and turn it on now, it'll usually go to zeros. Yeah. So it's just that very first super cold boot, and then it goes to zeros. And well, I can't find any proper documentation for this particular unit. So there's a maintenance manual out there that references the Portable 386, but that has a different memory structure than the 286 because it actually has 4 sticks of memory in the middle here. And no onboard memory, no onboard RAM. So the only thing I can still see is that line is still floating. So maybe that data line is being broken by one of these other chips, maybe some 7.4 logic. So I might need to trace that line out and see where it leads to, and hopefully it's not one of these custom Compaq ICs that you can't really replace, but just gotta keep looking. Okay, so I just did a bit of testing and I could tease out, if I get my beeper, the pin for DO3. Actually, let's just verify that that is still a problem. I didn't actually do that before. So if we switch a row, and we'll just ground out there and check. Yep, so that pin, as you can see on the scope down here, is held high, whereas on the other RAM chips you can see there is activity. So if I beep that out, I found it. It took me ages. I was literally scraping across all of these contacts on this chip here on pin 13. So this is a 74F245N, which I just looked up, and it is a octal bus transceiver, which means it's got pins octal, so there's 8, so 0 through 7A and 0 through 7B. And based on the output enablement in the TR pin, it's either inputting data from A and outputting to B, or inputting data from B and outputting to A. Now, because all we're seeing here is 5 volts, what we want to do there is probe the pin over here. So that's that pin 13 right there. And see what we see there. So let's do the same thing. So let's pick up ground down here and probe pin 13, and we are seeing the same 5 volts high. Okay, so now what we'll do is probe. So pin 13 is B5. Show it here on the thingy. Yep, there's pin 5. So B5, sorry, and A5 is pin 7. So it's either transmitting and receiving. So it's either taking data from pin A and outputting it to pin B. Actually, let's have a look at the transmit and receive, which is pin 1 and 19. So pin 19 will be here. So that's output enable is low, so it's pulsing a whole bunch, which is fine. And then pin 1 over here is pulsing a bunch as well. So what we should really do is set up 2 probes, but I'm lazy. You can see that it is swapping direction. It's doing a lot of work. So it should, realistically, depending on what we see on A5, we should see the same effective thing on B5. But B5 looks like 5 volts high, and pin 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What do you look like? And there's data. So I think this chip is bad, this 7-4 logic, because we should effectively, like if we probe pin, let's go A6, which is the next one, pin 8, and then A6 on the other side is pin 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is a data line A6, and if we look at B6, which is this one, they're practically the same thing. Because what's happening is the chip is transceiving. It's, it's transmitting and receiving both sides. It's transmitting from A to B or B from B to A. But because we're only seeing 5 volts high on the B output here, I think that chip is not enabling that line. So I will have a look and see if I can pull this out and give it a test. I think I can test these in the retro chip tester again. So more solder time. Here we go. Hey, it's Editor Nick here. Needless to say, if you've been reading the captions that I've been adding, this did not work. It provided exactly the same output, and there's obviously a problem somewhere else on the board. Now, instead of me letting you watch me waffle on, I'm just going to skip over a bunch of this and get to the next part. Let's flick it on and see what we see. So, ground and that pin. And it is still held straight up to 5 volts. So, yes, there is something else wrong. That is a significant bummer, but it seems to be the theme of this repair. Yeah, okay, so I'm just going to have to keep probing around with my beeper and see if that line goes somewhere else. So, sometimes you've just got to take a step back and realize that you've been a little too hyper-focused on the one issue. Now, the story as it goes, as you've seen in the video so far, is I was having memory issues, and they came out of nowhere, supposedly. Couldn't figure out what was going on. It seemed to happen when I was busy taking the board in and out to get the video card, and I've got the spare video card in there at the moment, the graphics card. My original one is over here. And I'm just waiting on replacements for this, but until then, I'm just using the borrowed one. Anyway, and then it came up with this RAM issue. So I chased that down using my oscilloscope to trace out memory chips that I thought were bad. I tested them all, they're all fine. I found some other RAM over here. Still not 100% sure what those are. They might be parity for these guys. I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, and then I traced some other, what I thought were issues over to this Sim4 logic. That ended up being a dead end as well. I thought at one point that maybe one of these DMA memory controllers was bad. Getting nowhere, basically. And just chasing my tail around and around in circles. And then I noticed something that astute viewers may have noticed earlier as well, is that this was the RAM, and this one here is different to what I was originally using in the first video. And even more astute viewers may have noticed that this is 1 megabyte stick, so this is 2 megabytes total. And the Compaq Portable 3 cannot use these sticks, or supposed to not be able to use these sticks. It is, and this is how the memory map works, the internal memory, is 128 kilobytes provided by these 4 ICs, plus 512 kilobytes provided by two 256 kilobyte SIMs, these 2 sticks right here. So that creates the 640 kilobytes total. Now the machine then is upgradable to, I think it's 10 megabytes. It's through a memory expansion that goes into this slot here and plugs into this expansion port. These 1 megabyte sticks, while they may work in here, and they did appear to be earlier, it only addresses the first 512K, first 256K of each stick. So not useful in this scenario, but that shouldn't be a problem. Like I said, they were working in there earlier. I got it on video. These were the sticks that were in there. However, anyway, I went through a rigorous process testing all of my 30-pin SIMs. I actually ended up categorizing a decent amount. But I found a few SIMs that seemed to work, and they were tested in MemTest 86 on a 386 computer. Well, I think I've got a pretty long night ahead of me. Testing 4 RAM sticks at a time. Yeah. They worked, popped them in here, and still nothing. But then I started lucking out absolutely randomly. At one point, I sprayed a bunch of contact cleaner into these pin contacts, put the slot in, turned it over, and it booted fine. And then as the contact cleaner dried up, it started getting memory errors until it eventually crashed. I was going further and further down a rabbit hole because I got it working, but then it didn't. Yeah. Anyway, I'm telling you that so I can tell you this. I finally reached my wit's end. I posted on the Vogons forum and had some sounding board advice because, as I posted on that post there, I feel like I was missing the dancing bear. And missing the dancing bear, indeed I was, because what I just did is I pulled this board out and just resoldered the pins on these 2 SIM sockets. And, well, Now it works fine. Oh, you can't see it through the rolling shutter, but works great. I've even got the diagnostics disc in here, so I can go through and test the memory. This has been a frustrating journey, to say the least. Yep. So, there you have it. Like I said, a stark reminder to check the basics. I should have, from the get-go, checked that the pins on the two SIM slots were actually soldered correctly and not old and cracked, because, you know, probably what happened was, as I was in the process of unplugging and plugging and unplugging and plugging this connector, that portion of the board has moved around and cracked the solder joints. I don't know. So we're out, and you can see those pins. Let's just put it this way. Those pins have now been resoldered, reflowed. They're all nice and shiny joints, and, well, that's exactly what it needed. So yeah, all of the reflow work and the sockets for the memory slots over here, unnecessary. It was SIM sockets all along. Well, anyway, live and learn. Got to keep paying attention to the basics. Sometimes I want to bust out the scope, even though that's not necessary. But regardless, this is now working. It's got a good video card in here, which means I can start mucking around and moving on to other things. Well, I think that's where I'm going to leave this video off. I got the Compaq running again, but I did go down the absolutely wrong rabbit hole for a very long time. Yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't all for naught. I did learn quite a lot about DRAM in particular, about how the RAM on the Compaq works, and about the chip layout in particular. Did some reverse engineering on this chip, trying to figure out where all the signals go, and yeah, it was a good investigatory piece. Yeah, so next I think I might dive into the keyboard, because now that it's working and I'm able to test it, some of the keys aren't particularly happy. And then I've got the hard drive to look at as well, because I still need to unlock, hopefully, some of the secrets that hard drive has to offer. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll stick around for the next episode.